President Biden may be vacationing in Delaware, but that's not stopping critics on both sides of the aisle from slamming the botched Kabul drone strike that killed innocent Afghans instead of ISIS-K terrorists.
This is a total about-face from the Pentagon's initial denial they got anything wrong days after the attack. One wonders how much the Pentagon would be admitting this if it weren't for your reporting and the New York Times and other media outlets.
The Pentagon issuing an apology saying at the time it believed the strike would prevent future attacks.
This strike was taken in the earnest belief that it would prevent an imminent threat to our forces and the evacuees at the airport. But it was a mistake, and I offer my sincere apology.
Sincere apologies, but no firings, and they stand by the intel, Carley. How do you stand by intel that killed 10 innocent children, 7 innocent children, and 10 innocents in toto?
This is worse than an embarrassment. It's a tragedy, and it's a mistake that you can't undo. You can't get these 10 innocent lives back. And I think that sometimes the 24-hour news cycle sometimes blows situations out of proportion. But this is a situation, this Afghan pullout and the way it unfolded, I don't think there's been enough outrage over it. I don't think you can physically express how much anger there should be over this. And I'm afraid that it's going to leave the news cycle too soon. So many mistakes were made. I had to make a list. This isn't even all of them. The Secretary of State was warned in July that the Afghan government could fall sooner than they originally thought. Didn't respond to the level he should have. Biden gave up Bagram Air Base. We were then asked by the Taliban if we wanted to keep control of Kabul, and we said no. We put the safety and security of Americans in the hands of the Taliban and the Haqqani network, terrorist organizations. We left weapons behind, Americans behind. Our generals called the Taliban helpful. We ignored our allies. And then one of the ultimate sins, 13 U.S. service members died because of a terrorist attack. And then we have 10 people who died because we struck the wrong target. And there's really been no accountability. The worst thing that's happened is that the Secretary of State had to go through 2 days of uncomfortable hearings, but there haven't been any firings or anything beyond just 2 days where the Secretary of State could say, it was my fault, but then nothing else was done to make up for this.
No, totally avoidable. And, Mark Milley, General Mark Milley is being praised in some quarters for intervening against Donald Trump. I wish he'd intervened here. This might have been all avoided. Tammy, the Biden administration says this was a mistake. To my eye, a mistake is when you bungle the name of the Aussie Prime Minister. This is an international travesty. But this is what Jen Psaki said the day of the drone strike. Watch.
First, I would say the fact that we have had 2 successful strikes confirmed by CENTCOM tells you that our over-the-horizon capacity works and is working.
The over-the-horizon intel. What does this say about their over-the-horizon intel, Tammy Bruce?
Yeah, well, it's really over their heads, isn't it? I mean, this is an extraordinary thing to watch. But here's my concern as well, is that if we were mistaking, and what this ended up being was a father loading water canisters into a car, if we can't determine the difference between water canisters and a bomb, then we also can't tell the difference between bombs and water canisters. So I think that's one of the major things here. But also, we have to consider that clearly the intel on the ground, many people are wondering if this came from the Taliban. If they were, remember, they were talking about them being our partners. Was this really just a way to get us to do their dirty work? This man worked with us. 7 children, as you've noted. Wouldn't it be a big laugh for the Taliban, these serial killer monsters, to get us to do their dirty work for them? And it tells you the mentality of Milley and of the establishment now, so desperate to save face that they would take at least the guidance of a terrorist gang of thugs and do this to a family. It's atrocious, it's unacceptable, and it's not clearly a mistake. It's a blinding, more than a tragedy. It's an obscenity, clearly.
Yeah. No, the Taliban have been playing us every step of the way. And Tyrus, speaking of international disasters, Biden announced a new submarine deal with the UK and Australia this week. There's only one problem. The man who promised to unite the world didn't tell France, who had a $16 billion sub deal in the works with Australia. The French foreign minister said this is, quote, unacceptable behavior among allies and partners. Their consequence affect the very concept we have of our alliances, our partnerships, and the importance of the Indo-Pacific for Europe. Tyrus, your reaction. What does this mean to America's place in the world?
Whoops. My bad. I don't know what else. Was that you? Were you selling subs? I thought you were selling sandwiches. Oh, you mean ships? Oh, well, golly geez, sorry. I don't know what else we can say. I mean, mistakes, we hurt people's pocketbooks and probably cost jobs with this one. So this administration, this is the woke administration. I mean, this is just the way they do things. They don't fact check anything, and all their foreign policy apparently comes off Twitter. So France should have posted that they had a new sub deal, because then we would have liked it or retweeted it. So you got to give us the info. We need the intellect.
You watch this, and Biden bungles out. He has these staged zoomed summits with world leaders. None of it is coordinated. Everything he touches in the international sphere, including our border, which we'll cover in a moment, turns to dust. Something has to be done here, and someone has to hold Biden and this administration accountable.
Well, you can't fire anybody because it's woke, which means you're going to get sued. So, because everyone's been appointed to the position based on their identity and how their feelings are, opposed to resumes and actually hiring the best and brightest, which used to be the American way. Now it's just a bunch of feel-good people, and no one bothered to tell them that this was a fact-based job where you actually had to do your due diligence, know what you're talking about, and maybe research if France is selling submarines to Australia before you have a news press conference about how you're selling submarines to Australia. Like, just whoops.
It's remarkable.
Follow me, bro. That's all we can say.
Tammy, what does this say to Biden's promise to bring America back, to reinsert and reassert our position in the world? It seems just the opposite is happening here.
Well,
even our allies are abandoning us.
No, it is happening, and we're being reasserted, as a bunch of bumbling idiots. We are inserting ourselves with our allies, reminding them, I don't think they meant to do this, about how fabulous Donald Trump was. It's almost as if that's his goal. But this is where it reminds the American people. Theater is one thing. What you say before a campaign is one thing. You say what Americans want to hear. And then when you go out there, it's actually hard work. But you couldn't, even a broken clock is right twice a day. To be wrong all the time takes special energy and a special intention. So good on them for that. They're batting 1,000 with being wrong all the time.
Consistency means something.